different this week, and I'll kind of get into that. First of all, I've noticed that we've picked up a few extra subscribers here in the last couple of weeks. And on behalf of both Luella and I, really want to thank you guys. It's a vote of confidence that what we're doing at least appeals or interests some of you. So from Luella and I both, thank you guys. We're growing, we're working on things. We have lots of ideas, but we're also looking to grow this community because we also want to run off of your ideas. If you have questions, if some of the subjects that we're going into, like you'd like a little deeper explanation, or if there's things that we're talking about, or that we're not talking about that you'd like us to talk about, let us know in those comments. It's kind of gross, I'm going to get into a little bit about social media here in a second, but, we've talked about kind of how toxic and broken our social media is and how it incentivizes and, manipulates our differences and our outrage and our anger. And here we are doing a YouTube channel, talking about going out and touching grass occasionally, but it is, I'm a gray-haired Gen Xer, and I was there when the internet first started, and there was a lot of hope and promise around what the internet could be when it comes to creating community and spreading positive messages and sharing information and things like that. And it's really, really, really fallen short because you got these big, social media companies that have kind of gotten in the middle, and now they curate the experiences that we have on the internet. So with all that said, we as a channel that's trying to grow, we need to feed the beast, sadly. A moment here. And, I'm sure plenty of you are aware of it, but for the handful of people that aren't, YouTube sees how much a video gets shared. They see whether or not the video is watched all the way through. They see if it gets likes. They see if there are comments or multiple comments down in the comment section. And if YouTube sees that a video is getting what they call engagement, then they will make sure that it gets put in front of more people. So, which to me is kind of backwards. Wouldn't you think the one that isn't getting enough exposure is the one you would want to promote and then let it go from there? But it is what it is. So again, any likes, any shares, any kind of comments, even if there's channels that I follow, and just because I want to make sure the algorithm sees them, I will just drop a little heart emoji down in the comments, or a little, power fist comment in the emoji, or just good work, or something like that. So, sort of the call, like if you guys want to help us game the system a little bit, that would be great. So enough said about that, the self-promotion BS, which both of us are not entirely comfortable with, but it has to be done if we want to grow this to the point where we're contributing to the conversation that pulls the country in a better direction. I'm not saying it's pulling it left. I'm not saying it's pulling it right. I'm saying it's pulling it down to the working class, to the concerns that we care, and the policies and the conversations we have to have if we're actually going to move the ball forward when it comes to public policy, when it comes to the reforms of our democratic election system, when it comes to the kinds of candidates we're getting. That's really kind of what our hope is for this. Now, with that said, as I have said a couple of times in the videos that, got to touch grass. And, a little bit into me is that I am on Facebook, but that is specifically because that's where my union does most of their communications. It's where most of my coworkers are. And so I will, like their pictures of their kid when they go to the, to the hayride or whatever it is. But I don't really do much on there. I don't really engage with people on there. As a matter of fact, every once in a while, I'll see a comment and I will try to engage in conversation. and it goes nowhere because it's prepackaged notions, and they'll take one thing that I said and then they build this whole narrative around who I am and what I believe that's more often than not way off base from what I actually believe and what I actually care about. And I go, okay, I'm not wasting, was the biblical quote, cast not your pearls before swine, which is just to say, like, your pearls of wisdom are wasted on social media when most people are looking for a fight. Or if you push against what they believe to be their truth, then they're ready to fight. And so it's just a poor use of energy. And then when it comes to other things like Twitter or, Instagram or, even YouTube, like, it will feed you nonstop news items. So since, I tended to avoid that. As I articulated in one of our videos, most of the time, if I am on YouTube, I'm either watching animal videos, or I'm looking at car repair or home repair videos, or I am looking for thought leaders, thinkers, educators, or just experts in their field, kind of explaining things in sort of an academic sense, helping me to understand the world or helping me to get a handle on possible solutions. And that's where my energy and my focus goes when I'm online. And I see the way the algorithm wants to drag you into kind of hopeless doom scroll stuff. But since we started doing this channel, I have felt that there was a little bit more of a need for me to be at least be aware of some of that kind of stuff. And Luella, we haven't really talked about either of our backgrounds. Most of my life was service industry, and then about 30-ish years ago, I transitioned into the trades, trucking, trash man, working in the logging industry for a while. And now I'm doing, we'll just call it road work, construction type stuff, and heavy equipment. Whereas Luella has a degree, if I'm not mistaken, don't hate me, Luella. She has a degree in both journalism and digital marketing, and she's worked in a couple of different fields. Right now, her plate is very full. Because she's out, she's doing freelance work. So really her schedule is sort of taken by the clients that she has and what their needs are. And then of course I work full time, and we're coming into winter season, which I'll be out plowing snow, and doing, tree trimming and stuff like that. So our schedules are a little chaotic, which I've been beating around the bush and burying the lead. But the point is, the reason I'm doing a different video today is that, Luella and I are going to take a little bit of a break. And this is for multiple reasons. One, we ran out of most of our recordings. We do them because we live a little over an hour apart. So we only get together like every maybe month and a half, and we'll record many, many hours of footage. As you know, if you watch my shirt, you've got a sense of how many times we've gotten together since we started this. Because if I'm wearing the same shirt I was in the last episode, it's probably because they were recorded in the same moment. Give you a little glimpse behind the curtain how the sausage is made there, right? And so she was out of town for business, and so basically we ran out of footage. And because I'm a new homeowner, just bought a house in February, my first home. It's a pretty modest little place. You can sort of see, like that was a free TV, by the way. And this is, of course, where we sit when we do our recordings. I wanted to do this out in the backyard next to a pile of leaves, but it gets kind of windy in this area this time of year. And so, the beard would have been blowing sideways and the microphone would have been picking up wind. So here we are sitting on the usual seat. But, we basically ran out of footage in the tank, and we were going to scramble to get together actually today and do some recording, but I kind of want to take a break, recharge the batteries, and we're going to pick up recording probably, I think we were talking about doing it right after the day after Thanksgiving, and we're going to get together a couple times and get some footage in the tank, and we will come back on the first of the year. And so other than just our own personal schedules and, me wanting to take time to process information that I'm gathering and whatnot, this is a time where we're coming out of the holiday seasons. We've got, Thanksgiving, we've got Christmas, we've got New Year's, we've got all the friends and family gatherings that a lot of people have this time of year. And so we want to lean into, we want to kind of put our mouth, our put our money where our mouth is with regards to, maintaining and building connections with family and friends outside of these digital spaces and these screens. And we both would encourage all of you to do the same thing. Lean in, find community, spend time with people that you love, spend time doing things that you love, and make sure that we're all grounded not in everything that's fed to us through screens, but everything that actually exists. As I mentioned in one of our videos, if I turn on the news, it's fires and murder and guns and war, and I walk out my front door and it's wind chimes and laughing children and sunshine. And so do we have problems? Yes, otherwise we wouldn't be doing this YouTube channel, right? But it is never as bad as it is presented online or through these screens. And so just us taking a break so that we can reconnect with what's real, and to encourage you all to do the same thing, to reconnect with something that is real, something that is lasting, that gives you value, that feeds your soul, whatever the hell that is, right? Wrench on your car, bake cookies, get boozy with some friends, whatever it is that fuels your soul. So we're going to take this break, and we will start uploading again videos on the first of the year. I may, no commitments here, I may, if I have time, kind of go through some of the older videos and stitch together some shorts or something. I've got an idea bouncing around in my head, so that at least something is coming out for you guys to watch that you can maybe share over Thanksgiving dinner, that won't maybe inspire a fight, that might maybe foster a healthier conversation that is less about this side or that side. It's more about our side, because we're all on the same side. But in the meantime, something that we've had an interest in doing since before we ever recorded our first video, and we kind of struggled with it, and we haven't really put it into action because it's kind of hard. And that is something that, as Lou Ellis says, it's a call to action. Like, what is a call to action? What is a piece of advice or something that we can offer to you guys that you can then go put into practice that will actually start to make a change, right? So that we're not just shouting into the wind here, right? We're not just talking to hear ourselves talk, that we are doing something that will have some kind of a tangible impact, if not on the greater world, on our own personal lives. And the idea that I have, and I discussed this with Luella yesterday, the idea that I have kind of settled on is going to be some homework for you guys. Good coffee. And this is kind of what's led me to, I've had people ask me before, oh, what's your degree in? Well, okay. I'm not ashamed of it, but at the end of the day, not that I encourage anybody to follow my path on that, but I'm a dropout from Detroit Public Schools. Okay. I don't have a degree in anything. But I am innately curious, and I'm not a fan of conflict. And so when I hear people arguing or debating about something, I a lot of times will walk away going, well, what is the right answer? What's the truth? Like, these people were arguing round and round, or maybe I was participating in this argument based on my feelings, right? Or what I prefer. But then I walk away going, was I really right? Was I really standing on solid grounding? And so this recommendation I'm going to offer up to you guys is basically what got me to where I am. An entire life of trying to find out who was right. What is the right answer? Is it as simple as they wanted me to think it was? And basically, you take it, to tell somebody to become informed and knowledgeable and educated on, I mean, let's say you're a waiter, or let's say you're a trash man, or whatever the hell you are, right? And there's these debates and these conversations around healthcare policy, or about what is or is not the Second Amendment, or and I'm just bringing up random topics off my head. Anything, like next time, you overhear a couple of coworkers arguing about something, or you have strong feelings on something. Let's say the cost of housing. Take that one little kernel of curiosity, or that one little kernel of maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. That ignorance. We're all ignorant. That is not an insult, right? It's only an insult when you refuse to acknowledge your ignorance and you double down on it, right? So the homework, the assignment, okay, while Luell and I are away, is find that one thing that you're like, you know what, I have a vested interest in this. I'm curious about this, or I keep hearing people argue about this, and I'm not really sure who's right. It's really not as overwhelming as you would think to sort of start to become a bit of an expert on a given subject. And I mean, I'll just tell you how I do it, right? Is like, let's say, trying to come up with, we could talk about the housing affordability crisis, right? That's something that I, because it personally impacted me, and I wouldn't even have been able to buy a home myself if it was not for the stability of my current career and a government program to help first-time homebuyers. And every state should have them. So if any of you out there are struggling in that situation, I encourage you to look around first-time homebuyer programs and check that out. But even before that, I was very interested in it because, as I mentioned, I was raised in the Midwest. I lived in Portland, Oregon for all over the Pacific Northwest, but I kind of started to put down roots in Portland, Oregon, and I watched as there was like a year over year, like 30, 40, 50%. It was I think the peak, it peaked out at a 54% increase in the cost of housing over a 3-year span of time, which is just insane. And so I started wondering, well, why, how, what's going on? And man, it is a rabbit hole. You take one little bite-sized piece of that and you research that, and for example, the housing affordability crisis, everybody wants to say it's just the Black Rocks of the world buying up all the property. Well, that is a big part of it. It's a part of it, but it's not just that. And so you start researching this one little subject and you become knowledgeable on so many other things. That's, just sticking with that as an example. One, you've got the large investment firms that are doing it, but then you also have the NIMBYism and local zoning laws, where you will have let's say it's a overwhelmingly Democratic city, like someplace like San Francisco, where they actually vote in some legislation that is going to incentivize the construction, adding to the supply of multifamily housing, which is just a fancy way of saying apartment buildings, right? But then the zoning laws in the city dictate where those can and can't go, okay? And so they finally find a place where they can maybe put it, but then the local community, okay, who might be, hardcore lefties, right, all turn out to their town hall meetings saying, no, we don't want an apartment complex in our cute little craftsman style neighborhood because it'll change the character. And so you have we the people to blame for it not being resolved. And then you also have aspects of it where, from the building side, where builders don't want to build the small kind of humble starter homes that like my dad bought when I was a kid, because the cost of materials has experienced some inflationary effects, and therefore they can make a lot more money if they build these McMansions out in the suburbs. And so it's not just one thing that leads to a housing affordability crisis. It's a whole series of things, and I didn't even cover all of the things that impact that. So the homework is to find this one thing that it maybe personally impacts you or your loved ones, or you keep hearing people argue about, and you don't really feel confident either to add your voice or to kind of put a flag in the ground about where you stand on an issue, and just pick that one thing. And it takes, like, you watch a 15-minute YouTube video here, you spend 10 minutes reading a paper, an article online there, and over the course of a week, if on your 15-minute breaks, while you're waiting for the water to boil, while dinner's cooking, while you're sitting in the parking lot waiting for the kids to get out of practice, or whatever it is, that you just take these little bite-sized snippets and you just keep researching the same subject. Just keep doing that. Just a little bit. And with every little thing, you learn a little bit more and you become more informed, because part of the reason that Luella and I are out here doing this is that our media has dropped the ball. They're no longer giving us good, unbiased information to understand the world and to understand one another. And with that, I want to add a cautionary note that, like, when you start doing research on a given subject, if you get anywhere near the kind of poison pills, these cultural hot button issues that have had their importance in our dialogue elevated for the purpose of shutting down our dialogue and creating that division. If you choose to start researching one of those subjects, be very aware of the fact that there are going to be strong opinions on either side, and opinions are not the same thing as facts. And so it is really important to do a little bit deeper dive in that, especially if you're doing research and all it's telling you supports what you already believe or think about something. Then you should make an effort to search out something that pushes back, that tries to tell you that you're wrong. And then whatever claims they make, you can maybe verify them, right? And that way you have a sense of whether or not you are confirming your own biases or whether you are actually getting clear and fair and accurate information on it. Again, I'm going on way too long. That's a habit I have, but that's our homework for you guys over the holidays. And again, it might because the holidays are a time when we talk about, like, people getting into fights over the Thanksgiving table. The handful of you that have subscribed to us are clearly interested in kind of learning a little bit more about how much we all have in common. And so beyond picking a subject and doing some research and becoming a bit of an expert on that subject yourself, the other thing that both of us would ask of you guys over the holidays and in your interactions, and this is a blanket statement always, it's why this channel exists, is when you get around that table with the crazy uncle and the nutty aunt and whatever it is, that you can be the voice in the room that turns down the volume on the division and tries to remind everybody that we are one people and that there are bigger battles to be fought than the ones that we disagree about. That we need to drag the conversation back to those things that we agree upon. And if we can move even one person in that direction. And one of these days I will tell you guys the story about when I was driving truck and I was in northern Montana with a white supremacist who is an unabashed white supremacist, yet he'd never met a person of color in his life. That's a good little story. That, like, let the division and the anger and the vitriol go and seek out the common ground, because once you can establish that common ground, you can build that mutual respect. And once you can build that mutual respect, then you have a foundation upon which some of those more problematic ideas could be challenged. But so yeah, that's the long and the short, is that we're going to take a little bit of time off. We'll start uploading videos again after the first of the year. We want you all to have wonderful holidays. If you can, help people out. If you know people in your lives who are in need, bring them some food, bring them a warm blanket, give them a hug if they need it. Invite, somebody to your home if you've got a space for them. Keep in mind that some of us have big holiday plans, but never forget to look for the people out there who are alone, who don't have that. I'm a big fan of bringing strays to family gatherings and creating a space where people can feel like they have community and there's warmth and there's laughter. And enjoy your holidays. Touch grass. Get a little smarter on something. Turn down the temperature. And let's build some common ground. And we'll see you guys in the first of the year. On behalf of Luella and I both, thank you guys for watching our videos. Thank you guys for being curious. Thank you guys for loving your country. We wish you the best and the warmest, and we'll see you guys in 2026. Thank you.